Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report, and I am back in the U.S., as you can see in Pittsburgh, because we all stand with Texas, of course. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a lowdown real fast on just kind of what I saw over in the United Arab Emirates, which is a country. Dubai is one of the cities in that country. I was actually in a different city. So I was in Abu Dhabi, which is just the south of that, and didn't catch quite as much of a brunt of it. But as you saw in my video, I saw the storm front rolling in, and I didn't take it too seriously because it had been drizzling all day. You know, a little bit, heavy drizzle sometimes, but nothing like the drenching, pouring rain that came that caught everybody by surprise. So the issue of this is there's some talk about cloud seeding being potentially one of the issues here, that United Arab Emirates has been trying to seed the clouds in order to conjure rain, and they've been doing that somewhat successfully, but they've also caused some problems. Some other flooding has happened before, nothing quite this extensive, but then there's also the concerns that having allied with the United States, that potentially adversaries like Russia or Iran or China decided to punish the United Arab Emirates with a weather modification or something like that. So there's that angle too. Now, we have lots of different thoughts on that. I know a lot of people here have been researching a lot about weather modification, and other people have not really either seen enough evidence or haven't really looked into it, or have looked at stuff and haven't been fully convinced that that's what's going on there. I think that most people who've studied it will say that there is some, obviously they're attempting to, like seed clouds. That's weather modification right there, right? So, there is some stuff happening out there, and there's talk that they're using aircraft and stuff like that to disperse things and to conjure rain once again. That's not really refutable. That's just like hard facts, right? But then when you start getting into things like HARP and electromagnetic energy being used around the globe, that sounds far-fetched, and I get that. But then when you look at what like Tesla was doing way back in the day, he was transmitting electricity wirelessly. And we're not even talking about like the magnet things that we use on our phones for wireless charging. They had to be like right next to each other, right? Tesla was doing all sorts of crazy stuff by charging up the atmosphere. So some of that stuff can get kind of crazy, but maybe there's something to it, right? So this just a massive amount of water just got dumped on both the cities of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the other parts of United Arab Emirates. Oman next door got dumped on pretty hard too. Several people actually perished over in Oman. Now, so what I was seeing there was just like, as I was shooting the video and everything like that, I'm familiar with kind of the rough weather patterns of these places. Now, it was my first day in United Arab Emirates, right? So maybe I should have had a little more humility about it and researched a little more deeply. But if I had, I would have found what I've found since, which is it doesn't do that there. They don't have these monsoon-like storms. That's not something that happens in Abu Dhabi. That does not happen in Dubai. It's known for that not happening. And when it rains, it just drizzles a little bit, right? It doesn't dump water. And what I saw also there is just the buildings there are just not built for this. I was in the park, and I started running for cover, and there was no cover. There was shade blocks here and there, trees, lots of trees. They like trees because that blocks shade and cools things a lot. So that's good. But trees don't protect you from downpours like that. I got under a shelter, but it was like wood slats, but they weren't like full, right? They were just meant to kind of block the sun. So that was of no help. I got behind this wall. It was a vertical wall it was on the other side. I held up those slats. I got behind the wall because the rain was coming sideways at me. It was absolutely crazy. And so I finally ran over to the bus stop because I had ordered my Uber to come pick me up, and I was going to feel very guilty about getting into the Uber soaking wet. Everything I had on me was just like completely drenched, like just wring out your clothes kind of thing, right? I had luckily dropped most of my stuff back at the hotel so that I didn't have to lug everything around, but I had basically my phone and a gimbal with me, and that's about it, right? And my microphones. But luckily, that was all I had, because anything else I had in the bag would have gotten drenched. My entire backpack got fully wet on the inside too, even though I was trying to protect it, but it didn't do any good. Got to the bus stop. Bus stop didn't have a roof on it either. It just had more slats. So that was of no use. A couple other people were trying to hide by the bus stand, and there weren't any other buildings around because I wanted to go see the big tall buildings. And so I don't think you can get into those big tall buildings, into the foyer, without some sort of clearance or code or whatever. And that was a distance away. It was a couple hundred yards away. And so I just kind of waited for the Uber and just got drenched and jumped in the Uber. But then when I got back to the hotel, I could see that the buildings just weren't built for water to hit like this. So they have some places where it's a pavement and then steps going down into the cool, dark, basement kind of thing, because that's where you can escape the heat, right? The problem was they didn't have any water diversion, so it was just the water was hitting the pavement and they're just going straight into these basement things, like a restaurant, and there's a massage place there, and they had a shop down there too, and the water was just going boom right in there. And they also had a whole bunch of storage for some of the restaurants and stuff like that downstairs, and just the water went right in there. I saw the aftermath the next day. They were just in cleanup mode. Eventually they got some barricades up to try to block the water, divert the water from going straight into the basement. And it's just that's kind of the United Arab Emirates in general. They don't have rain like this, so their infrastructure's not built to deal with water, right? When I was leaving Abu Dhabi, which did not get hit like the Dubai airport, the Dubai airport just didn't have any water diversion at all. As you could see, just the water just got up, and what do you do with it? I mean, there's no downhill. You don't just push the water downhill because there's no channels for it. Whereas in Pittsburgh, it rains all the time, so there's always channels for water to get out. Whereas there just aren't, because water doesn't get there. And when water does fall, they can just capture it in a little pool and then just let it evaporate off, right? Well, that doesn't work when you get a whole lot of water. There were off-ramps to the highway that were completely submerged, and people were riding up on the embankment to get around the deep water on some of these off-ramps. And so just even the highway didn't have water diversion and stuff like that. That didn't impact me because we were just going straight on the highway up to the airport. But that's just kind of shows you how unusual, not even unusual, but just completely unheard of. This has never happened really before. Someone was throwing out there a once in 30-year storm, but other people are throwing out there unprecedented, never has happened before. Something different has happened. And the question then is, somebody did this. I mean, that's where we're going with this. Now, I know some people are out there there's too many cars on the road and that's why this happened. Okay, sure, whatever. So catastrophic things happen, and immediately okay, if you want to go that way, well, then everything's that problem, right? I think most of us would see this wasn't a little bit worse than the worst that had happened before, and it's getting worse every year. It's This has never happened before, and this suddenly happened. And we're seeing that the UAE has been playing around with cloud seeding, and some people started pointing the finger at them that they overseeded some clouds. Now, of course, if they did that, they would never admit that, right? I mean, why would you, right? And then on the other side of things, if this was a response, if this was weaponized weather, that is something that we need to be considering here. Because now nobody's claimed this was, right? Nobody was like, we did that to them. Which I think if you don't do that, or if people don't at least suspect that you did it, is it really as effective as a weapon, right? Does it really threaten the way you want to? Is it really a deterrence if, something bad happened to this person? If they can't connect it to the bad thing they did to you, it looks like you just sat there and just, were impotent, right? But then this bad thing happened that was completely unrelated, just happened to them, oopsie, stuff like that happens, right? If there is no connection, then it loses its deterrence value. So there would need to be some sort of person linking that. And we haven't really seen that. So now I know some people are like, they've watched all their Hollywood movies, and they're convinced that bad guys just are bad because they like doing bad stuff to people. And the world is not that simple. There are some people who philosophically believe that they should do bad stuff to certain people. Okay. They believe it's good for them to do bad things to who they call bad people. Or people who deserve it, right? Infidels, or or people who are less than, or people who have harmed their people back in the day, or that type of thing. All that to say that we can't keep doing that, right? And I'm sorry, I'm running on like 24 hours of flights and everything like that, right? So I haven't slept yet. I slept a tiny bit on the plane, but I want to get this update out to you. So if I'm a little disjointed, I want to get things fresh to you. So that this morning, to me, I was in Abu Dhabi, UAE, looking at the flood repercussions and everything like that over there. So documenting that for everybody. But so the world is not simple, that there aren't just bad guys who just like to do bad things. Bad people have legitimate to them reasons why they do those things, right? They believe that what they're doing is right or moral, or at least permissible. Rarely does somebody say, what I'm doing is evil and bad and I'm just doing it anyway. Most people are justifying it in some way. I'm defending my homeland. I'm defending our honor. I'm defending my religion, or something like that, right? And when they do that, they generally are going to want it known that they did this for some reason or another. And so it's rare that bad things just happen and everyone's looking around like, who did it? Usually that's because, one, everybody knows who did it, right? Like 9/11, like everybody knew who did it. Everybody in the intelligence community, everyone who is following information and stuff like that. It's like the guys who said they wanted to do this kind of stuff, they apparently did it, right? And then two, like when people are just terrified of it, they're terrified of the consequences of it. It's like, they were courageous enough to do this evil thing, but now they don't want to own it because, they want somebody else to get blamed for it, someone else to suffer the consequences for that. So was it weather modification? Let me know down. Was it weaponized weather? Or was it just the United Arab Emirates did an oopsie and overseeded some clouds and caused a storm that did stuff? And then the side issue here is I've heard, I can't cite sources, I've heard rumors that the F-35, if it gets wet, if it flies through clouds, if it then either the water droplets stick to the surface and make it so it lights up on radar, or I've heard that actually the coating on the stealth aircraft of stealth fighter F-35 actually is either damaged or is actually just removed by water, and so they have to fly it when it's dry. And also they pointed out that it's black, and so it's designed to be flown at night. And it's not the greatest aircraft in the daytime because you can see it, right? So there's this conversation out there. Now I've heard about the Nighthawk, the 117, right? That early stealth had some of those issues. But I don't know how much of them are currently on right now. But some people who are criticizing the F-35, which there's so much to criticize the F-35 for. It's absolutely a total catastrophe. Total catastrophe. If we lose World War III, it's going to be in part because of the F-35. And that is saying something. It's quite just way over budget, extremely expensive. The fighters, most of them are inoperable at any given time. We can't find replacement parts for the things. We can't keep them up in the air. And on top of that, do they really perform very well at all? And they don't have much payload. They don't have much fuel capacity. There's all sorts of problems with them, with those things, and then reliability issues as well. So let me know if you've heard some of those things I just mentioned about the F-35, about the water on the skin of it. If you have like super insider information or something like that, or classified stuff, I'm not suggesting you give that out on a public source. But if you have if you've seen open source stuff, stuff that's already out there that, is already kind of a little bit public knowledge, do point me towards it down in the comments down below. Thanks so much for stopping by, friends. I will have something more cohesive and cognizant and other. I am sleep deprived and jet lagging right now, so I'm going to shut off the camera. But thanks so much for sticking around, and I got some more to come. And if I can recover my hard drive, I got a number of Taiwan videos that will blow your minds. They turned out the clips and stuff like that turned out fantastic. Yeah. All right, friends, thanks so much for stopping by. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.